Hey, what's up, Raider Nation? Welcome back to the Raider Squad Show. It's game week, and we've got lots to get to today. Let's see if the Raiders can get it done on the road against the Patriots.
Jakobi Meyers, he requested a trade. The Raiders said no. That was that. He's ready to go week one versus the New England Patriots.
Raider Nation, are you ready for some football? As the Raiders get ready for New England as they head across the country, we're going to break down everything that is Raiders and the Raider Squad Show.
Raider Nation, it's time. This is the Raiders Squad. Everything Las Vegas Raiders every week. Covering all the big hits and game-changing plays from the Death Star in the desert. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. Commitment to excellence starts here. The Raiders Squad Show starts now.
Hey, what's up, Raider Nation? Thank you so much for rocking out with us this morning. Remember, if you like the content, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. You can also follow us on our social media channels, and you'll see in the description below the ways that you can connect with us. Also, remember, you can find us on the audio side. So wherever you find your shows, podcasts, we're there too. And if you got a couple of minutes, leave a rate and review. That helps the channel grow. Give us a 5-star. And as I always say, it's because Link and Q are on the show, right? So why wouldn't you? Also, speaking of Link and Q, to give them a formal introduction, of course, we got Q Myers, and we also got none other than Lincoln Kennedy here, and myself, Chantel Chand, of course. And we got a lot to get into because it's game week. It's exciting. Football starts tonight, actually. Officially starts tonight with the regular season. But of course, the Raiders get going on Sunday on the road against the Patriots. We're also going to be talking about the unofficial depth chart that came out. As you heard Q say in the intro, Jakobi Meyers requested a trade, and he also addressed the media as well. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. We're going to talk about the Raiders adding a quarterback to their practice squad, and if there's enough confidence, I guess, with the backup quarterbacks. And then we're going to talk about some power rankings. And of course, I know you guys don't really rock with power rankings or just like rankings at all, but we're going to get to them because we got to talk about the fact whether or not if it's disrespectful. But before we get into all of that, guys, I got to mention really quickly, today's episode is brought to you and is sponsored by Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. So guys, let's get right into it because it's game week. We've been waiting for this ever since the season ended pretty much, right? The schedule came out. We knew that the Raiders were going to be on the road for their first game week 1, and now it's finally here. Link, as a player, when it's week 1, like, what are the emotions that are going through your mind, right? You just got done with preseason. Now it's the first game. I'm sure there's a little bit of jitters, right?
Without a doubt. There's just going to be a ton of anxiety and anticipation as you get ready to ramp up towards this week till you get on the plane to travel back east to New England. And then, of course, there's the sitting around that you do on Friday and Saturday night as you're waiting for the game to kick off. So there's a lot of anticipation. There's a lot of, I wouldn't necessarily, you could classify them as jitters, but they're more just nervous energy. You just amping to get up there and go out there and hit somebody else. And, after training camp was over and the last preseason there was a long wait that you were just hitting Raiders. And you were just going through the practices and everything else as you're getting ready. But take care of your mind, take care of your body. It's going to be a long road trip. Hopefully Raiders find a way to come out on top.
The way that Lincoln describes it to me all the time is it's a marathon, not a sprint, right? So you can't get all fired up and wear out all your juice in game 1. But the reality of it is that, this is the big payoff, right? You've been working, you've been grinding since, OTAs and mandatory minicamp, and then you go through the grind of training camp, and the grind's not the same as it was when Big Link was going through the grind of training camp, but it's still training camp for these players. So as we see them in the locker room yesterday, we'll see them again today and tomorrow. It's now, okay, now we're gearing up for our reward on Sunday. The reward on Sunday is playing the game. You actually go through all the hard work all week long to lead up to the actual game. The game is a kid's game. The game is the fun. The game is the reward at the end of the road after going through all the grind. So they're looking at it and saying, okay, it's almost here. Couple more practices, a couple more walkthroughs, a couple more film studies, and we'll be on that bird to Boston and be ready for the Patriots. So, yeah, they can taste it. They know it's right here. Now they just got to go finish the job and go have the fun and play the game on Sunday.
Yeah, they got to finish the job. So we're going to talk about some keys to victory for this particular game. And of course, lots of new players on both sides of the ball, guys, especially when it comes to being in the trenches. And what I mean by that, like, you're going to love this because on the Pat side, 4 of their 5 guys on the O-line, they're new. There's no continuity there. This is a new squad in terms of the guys that they brought over for the O-line, because as you guys know, the Patriots O-line last year was just as bad as the Raiders O-line last year, right? It was absolutely brutal. They also have 2 rookies on this O-line, right? Yep. So that's very interesting as well. Link, when you're an O-lineman and it's very new, you're playing with new guys, right? There's not really a lot of continuity. What's that adjustment like? And of course, you've always said like there just needs to be time for guys to gel.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. First of all, what you do as an offensive coordinator or a coach, you simplify everything. You don't make anything too detail oriented. You'll work your way up to that as the season progresses. You simplify it. And so you're going to see New England, much like the Raiders, going to rely on the run a lot because the run is the easiest thing to teach. Okay, and the run plays. And then you're going to have a handful of those run plays that you're going to rely on, depending on how it goes. And so when we talk about it later in the show, guys, I'll tell you my keys to the game. It's going to surround that for the New England Patriots as well as the Raiders. I mean, you've got to have these guys play together. You're going to take your lumps. Usually this time of year, guys, defenses are a little bit further ahead than offenses because offenses haven't gotten to a rhythm. They haven't really shown anything during preseason. They don't really know how they're going to open up or they're going to scheme the game plan. Most offensive coordinators I know back in the day did not write down their first 20 plays or script their first 20 plays like a lot of guys will do in the regular season. They just wanted to go vanilla. So, for New England and for the Raiders, this offensive line, you're going to simplify things, keep it very easy to go, and you're going to go out there and just try to be physical in that first game to see what you really have.
For New England, what they did with that offensive line, and you're right, Chantel, 4 new starters on that line. And their center is a guy that comes over from Minnesota. He was a free agent, but he was really bad last year, right? So there's a lot of questions on that O-line. But what they have done is they've worked together all summer long. They didn't have a lot of mixing and matching. And, well, maybe this guy fits, maybe that guy fits. They picked their 5. And they rocked with them. And they said, all right, we're going to let these guys all gel. And that's what Lincoln says all the time. You've got to get your 5, and you got to let them get those reps together. There's nothing more important than reps. So they have those reps. It's a lot of new. And so it's going to obviously be tested on Sunday going up against that defensive line of the Raiders and guys like Max Crosby and Kuntz and Tyree and Butler. I mean, the Raiders defensive line is pretty deep. So it's going to be interesting to see how quickly they come together. But they have been, to their credit, they've been working all summer long together. And it's funny because you look at the Raiders offensive line and these guys aren't all necessarily brand new, but they're in new positions, right? Meredith was with the squad last year. Now he's the center. JPJ, he was the right guard in the center. Now he's the left guard, right? Glaze, he was the right tackle. Miller, obviously the left tackle. So the bookends are there. But, Parham, he's been up and down the interior of that offensive line. Now he's at the left guard spot. So a lot of different changes plus a new offensive line coach for the Raiders as well. So they're trying to work out the kinks just like the Patriots are trying to work out the kinks.
Yeah, and Link said it right there. I think that the most safe thing you could do right away is establish the run, right? Because you want to establish the run. That's going to open up the pass game. But at the same time, like both teams are probably going to be trying to establish the run, but both teams are also dealing with O-lines that really haven't played together a lot. But in terms of the Raiders D-line, I mean, there is some continuity there, right? And I saw a lot of comments talking about the Raiders O-line going up against, the Pats D-line, vice versa. And this is where it gets really interesting because I have more confidence, obviously, in this Raiders D-line than I do this Pats O-line. And I think it's going to come down to the trenches. And of course, they probably want to get Ashton, Jeanty going. I want to talk to you guys about the defense in terms of what you guys expect from Ashton, Jeanty in this first game, right? Because this is a guy that has a lot of pressure on him as a rookie. And, he got a little bit of burn in preseason. And with that came a lot of criticism. But now is his time to shine. Q, what are you hearing? Because obviously you're there at the practices and whatnot. But what are you hearing in terms of Ashton, Jeanty and how they want to use him in this game?
Well, it's funny. I actually asked him yesterday. He stepped to the podium and I said, how do you not make this too big of a deal? How do you make this just another regular season game, even though it's his first NFL season game, right? But, he's drafted so high, of course, in his mind, and just like all Raider Nation, every time he touches the ball, everyone's going to expect a home run. Like, that's just natural. Every single time he touches the ball, everyone thinks, there it goes. He's about to take it to the house, right? Because that's what happens when you get drafted guys so high. I don't want him to get into this game and try to do too much. I want him to allow the game to come to him and him just play his game and understand it's another football game, something he's been doing for a very long time, even though now it's at the highest level in the National Football League. And he said, look, I prepare the same. I approach every game the same. I have the same mentality. Everything that he's saying is correct. Now he's just got to go out there and execute it. But I mean, there's no doubt about it. Ashton Jeanty, they're going to lean on him a lot. The Patriots, if you go back to them last year defensively, they were terrible at stopping the run. They're still unproven if they can stop the run, right? They went and invested a lot of money on the defensive side of actually their whole team. They spent a lot of free agent money on, but on the defensive line, Milton Williams comes over from the Philadelphia Eagles. Big get for their defensive line, right? Just like the Raiders had their big get with Christian Wilkins a year ago. Problem is, Williams wasn't very good at stopping the run. And in Philadelphia, he didn't have to because there were so many of the bloodthirsty Pirates on that defensive line that were able to do that heavy lifting for him. So I'm interested to see. And so I think that this is going to be the game plan by Chip Kelly to test that Patriots defensive line immediately. If they can't stop the run, I'm doing like I did back in Tecmo Bowl back in the day when I just gave the ball to Bo and I ran around everybody. I'm going to keep giving it to them until they stop it. And whether that's Ashton Jeanty, Zamir White, even Raheem Mostert, if they can't stop me from running the ball, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to say, hey, big fellas, I'm going to get behind you. I'm going to run the rock.
The reason why I said that both teams are going to try to rely on the run, one, it's the simplest and easiest thing to teach when you're coaching or putting a game plan together is call the runs. But two, it allows you to slow down the game to watch everything happen in front of you. And that's the big thing that you want to start off the first month of football. You're coming out with a lot of unproven guys, no matter what you've seen in training camp or preseason, a lot of unproven guys together. And so for me, Ashton, I expect Ashton to have anywhere from 80 to 100 yards. To me, that's just a good, solid outing, 80 to 100 yards. And the reason why on the low end is about 80 because I don't know how much play this offense is going to get. Remember, there's only one football. And when you're talking about possibly throwing it around, possibly having Geno Smith open it up, Ashton might not get all those carries, but I know they're going to rely on the run because, again, it's the simplest thing. But you want to see how productive they're going to get. And I still think that this running back room is going to be running back by committee. So Ashton is not going to get all the carries throughout the game. So that's just my little side bet there. But as I said, it's simplest to call out runs and to see how physical your guys are. And for both teams had issues stopping the run last year. So both teams are going to be tested early. And that's what we can expect for this game.
Yeah, and I think one area where Max Crosby is going to eat is against Moses. I think he's going to eat him up all day. And then you also have, the rookie on that O-line as well. Two rookies on that O-line for the Patriots. You got Campbell and Wilson. I'll say this, though, in terms of the pass game, they're saying that Christian Gonzalez might not be available for that game. Now, Christian Gonzalez is great, but he's dealt with a lot of injuries. But then I take a look at their secondary, and I'm not confident with their secondary, right? Like Marcus Jones, Del Pettis, Jalen Hawkins. I'm like, okay, they got some guys, Carlton Davis, but I'm actually not even confident in their secondary without a guy like Christian Gonzalez. And I think that the fact that Geno has weapons, we know he's going to throw the ball downhill, try to get Dante Thornton out there because they've been practicing that. We know that. But I don't think there's enough confidence as well in this Patriots secondary. So I'm guessing the Raiders are actually going to go for it as well. I think they are going to rely on the run, like Link said. But guys, when it comes in terms to the pass game and the pieces that they put around Geno, do you guys see them taking a lot of chances in this game as well and taking a chance against this secondary that I think is unproven for the Patriots? Q?
I mean, yeah, I think that Geno's definitely going to, get his. And I think that Brock Bowers is going to be a guy that they try to target early and often. And again, I'm going to go back to, I think Big Mike's going to have a big year for the Raiders. I think he's finally going to show who he is when he was drafted as a second-round pick out of Notre Dame. I think he's going to really be a big factor in this Chip Kelly-led offense. It's funny, on the side note, when you talk about the secondary and Christian Gonzalez, he hasn't even practiced since like July. So I really doubt that he plays. But it was funny. I was listening in on some of the Patriot reporters that were talking about this game, and a couple of them, and I keep highlighting this, is they were saying that, we really don't need him week one. The Raiders don't really have anyone that, he needs to go up against. Like, I'm not really too concerned about, he can sit out this game. They don't really need him. And I'm thinking, look, man, the Patriots won 4 games the last 2 seasons. I don't think, and I know this isn't the team saying that, but it's just like, it's funny. I would never fix my face to say, you know what, the Raiders don't need so-and-so out there because they're only going up against the Patriots. There's a 4-win team. You need all hands on deck. And if you say that you don't need your best guy on defense, you're out of your mind. So I think that, one, that could be a little bit of fuel. Players are always looking for a little chip on the shoulder, a little bulletin board material, a little bit of juice or whatever. I think that may be a little something to get a little energy going in the Raiders wide receiver room between, Jakobi Meyers and obviously Tucker and Amari Cooper now on the squad and Thornton and Besh. And I do think Thornton's going to be, targeted a few times, try to get some big plays out of him. But yeah, there's no doubt that Geno's definitely going to test this Patriots secondary, and I think he should.
If you're Chip Kelly, you've got to be careful and got to be somewhat cautious as you go into this game plan, because as you talked about, Chantel and Q, there are many opportunities when you look at the lack of depth and the youth that's on the other side of the ball that you feel that you might be able to attack. But if I'm Chip Kelly, the first thing I'm saying to Geno is take care of the football. Don't put it in any compromising ways, and don't turn over the ball. You have to control this offense. You control the pace of this offense. We're going to move fast. We're going to be in and out of the huddle, but you've got to take care of the football. So don't try to take any untimely risks. There's no harm in marching down the field, on a 10, 12 play drive. There's no harm in that. Matter of fact, it sends a bigger message than most people realize when you do that, because it's completely debilitating to a defense who can't get off the field. Hell, the Raiders have seen that time and time again when they've had to deal with it. So that's what you want to do. That's where you want to go. But you also want to be patient. As I said, it's a marathon. This is a long season. Yeah. You don't have to put everything on film game one just because you might have the opportunity. Take your time, see what works for your team, see what you can get into a handful of plays. Because it's my dream, guys, that by the time we talking about week 6, week 7, week 8, we know exactly what this team is. We know what they can do on both sides of the football. We know how they do it, and we know how good they can be, or how what they need to work on. That's when you establish rapport. That comes later. So you don't do it week 1, but you establish as the season goes on.
The funny thing, Link, you talk about, being, ball possession and having a nice 12-play drive, whatever. There's no harm in that. Last year, the Patriots played, I want to say maybe it was the Bills. I can't remember exactly what game it was, but there were 17 run calls in a row.
Yeah,
17 run calls. But that's how bad they were at stopping the run, that the opponent, I think it was the Bills, went 17 plays in a row where they ran the rock. That is incredible. That's also being very patient and taking what the defense is giving you. And if they can't stop it, going back to the point of keep doing it.
And for the defensive side, it's demoralizing because you can't get off the field.
Yeah.
What do you need to do? You need to load up the line of scrimmage. You need to have 11 guys. Well, then they're going to take a shot down the field. So if you can't stop it, it's demoralizing. It's frustrating.
Yeah. So, guys, we kind of talked about earlier in the season, we made picks, I guess, throughout the schedule, right? And we did that a couple of times, but now it's game week. So I got to ask you guys for your picks, what you think the score is going to be. Obviously, it doesn't have to be correct, but who you guys rocking with in this game? Link, will go with you first.
I'm going with the Raiders 31-17.
Ooh, nice. Okay. All right. I wasn't expecting a 31 piece in game one, especially. I mean, I think this game, these two teams are very similar with each other. The Patriots are favored by 2.5. You get 3 points when you're at home. So clearly it's a pick 'em. I got the Raiders winning. I only got them winning by 3 though, 23-20.
Yeah. You know what? In the beginning, I kind of had the Pats winning, but then I think about the fact no Christian Gonzalez. You got 2 rookies on that O-line, not enough continuity. And I think the Raiders D-line is going to look good against this O-line. So I got the Raiders winning this one 24-18. And I think it's going to be a good offensive game for them. So
I feel like we just played like Price is Right? Lincoln gave his bid. I gave my bid. And Chantel's like, okay, hold on. Let me go ahead and fit in the middle here. Hey, neither one of these guys win. I'm going to go ahead. And the winner is Chantel. Come on down. You're the next. Yeah, you just won. That was smart. Well done.
No, but you know what? We all have the Raiders going 1-0 in week 1. We'll see. We'll come back on Monday and we're going to be breaking it all down. By the way, guys, Q and Link are going to be doing the pregame show for this. So keep it locked with them on Raider Nation Radio. They'll have you covered throughout the season. So do you guys also do halftime as well?
No.
Okay, not halftime. So you guys don't have
halftime is a bathroom break.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, good to know.
There's only 10 minutes. It's a real quick turnaround. You gotta get out.
Exactly. So remember, Q and Link will have you covered. Coming up on the next segment, we are going to be talking about the unofficial depth chart that came out just the other day. And just if there's any surprises, also keep in mind at the bottom of the show, if we got a couple of minutes, we might take some of your questions and Q and Link might be able to answer some of those. So keep it locked here on the Locked On Network. You're watching or listening to the Raider Squad Show. It's almost the weekend. Time to take a look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order. These players delivered when it mattered most. Let's break it down. Now, obviously, the season has not started yet, but for example, if you're going to be using this promo, for example, if Ashton Jeanty delivers in a big way in the fourth quarter with a touchdown or something like that, when the pressure was on, if he comes through no delay and you've been watching week after week, you know that performance was not a fluke. So you can say that Ashton Jeanty was on a streak. And as for Raider Nation, we kind of hope that he is in this game. And just like that, like I mentioned, Ashton Jeanty, if he delivers for the Raiders, DoorDash delivers your Saturdays with DoorDash Streaks. You save every Saturday you order, stack it up all season, and you can save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. And of course, the promo period is through November 18th. Welcome back, Raider Nation. Remember, if you like the content, hit that like and subscribe button. You can also follow us on our social media channels. And like I mentioned in the last segment, Q and Link do have you covered for the game, pregame, postgame. So make sure you rock with them on Raider Nation Radio. Now, guys, there was an unofficial depth chart that came out. And I don't know if there were any like major surprises. I think a lot of it looked pretty much what we thought it would be. One that I thought was really interesting was where Amari Cooper was placed, because he was placed behind Jakobi Meyers. And I only say that it was surprising to me because I think Amari Cooper still has some gas left in the tank. And I think you could even argue that he might be the best wide receiver in this wide receiver room. Of course, there's Jakobi Meyers there, and we got to talk about him as well. But the unofficial depth chart, Q, were you surprised where Amari Cooper was placed on the depth chart?
Not really. I mean, he just got to the team, right? So he's still trying to get into football shape. And I don't know, and I've been very, as a matter of fact, since he's joined the team, I don't know how big or how small of a role he's going to have, right? I know that he's a guy that obviously has a good resume, obviously a first-round pick by the Raiders. We've seen him at his highs. We've seen him at his lows. I don't know what version of Amari Cooper you're going to get. Are you going to get 2023 when he went over 1,200 yards, or are you going to get last year, right, where he had about 40-something catches between two teams? So I'm not too sure. Jakobi Meyers, I will, go to my grave and tell you he's the number one wide receiver for the Raiders, regardless of what anyone else says. I'm fine with that, right? And Trey Tucker obviously has a role on this. And then they've got Dante Thornton listed on the depth chart as a starter as well. But, all of this, like you said, is the unofficial depth chart. This is just an anticipation. So, we'll see what it all looks like come game day. We know that these parts are so interchangeable. Like a guy like Jakobi could play in the slot. He could play outside. A guy like Cooper could play in the slot. He could play outside. You know what I mean? There's so many interchangeable parts. But what we know is like Thornton will be the guy on the outside. But everyone else, I feel like, can line up just about anywhere. So there's depending on how they decide to, go ahead and attack these Patriots defense, will determine who's out there. But again, I just kind of look at it and take it with a grain of salt.
I'm not really surprised at the depth chart. It is what it is. The way I look at it is anticipating what the Raiders are going to do. They're going to play a lot of 12 personnel, which is 2 tight ends, 2 wide receivers. So if you think about it, you break it down like that, then you can make the argument that Dante Thornton and Jakobi Meyers are your 2 best receivers. They deserve to be started. That's your X and Z. And, of course, Amari Cooper has got a little bit more tenure, but it's also the fact that you add more depth than anything. He can play both X and Z. You don't have to have them out there to start with. And of course, you're going to try to stretch the field as Q was talking about, and we've seen preseason with Thornton. You could probably stretch it with Amari. But he's had to refine a lot of his role playing with the other teams. I'm talking about Amari Cooper and where he's come now. So he's that guy who can play both of your outside receivers, depending on how you want to look at it, where you might need. But right now, I'm not surprised by anything on the depth chart. It's what to be expected.
Yeah, and you guys, in terms of the D-line, I think a guy that's made some noise is Thomas Booker. Yeah. Because on this unofficial depth chart, he is right there, right beside Max Crosby on the inside. In terms of what you guys have heard and what you guys have seen from a guy like Thomas Booker, remember, like when the Raiders made that move, I think there were a lot of people that were upset. But then it's like, because they didn't really know much about him, and Philly was stacked when it came to the D-line. Q, what are you hearing about Thomas Booker, and how has he impressed so much that when you take a look at this depth chart, he's number 1 on that defensive tackle right now, next to Max Crosby. And the D-line right now is looking Crosby, Thomas Booker, Adam Butler, and Malcolm Kuntz. So what are your thoughts on that?
Not a big surprise, right? I started hearing immediately once he showed up with the Raiders, and me and Big Link were covering the preseason game. I mean, the guy was only with the Raiders for 12 seconds, and he was already out there on the field, right? So he was trying to make his presence felt. I actually got a chance to catch up with him one-on-one in the Raiders locker room yesterday, and I asked him about that, and he's like, it's an opportunity. I'm here to show what I can do. I'm a professional. I could continue to prepare everything, keep the main thing. He's ready for Sunday, but he's just blessed that he's in this opportunity. But everyone I reached out to, because I'll be the first to admit, a lot of times when we see trades or we hear about players, it's like we immediately give a judgment. We really don't know them. I'll be the first to admit I didn't know about Thomas Booker. I didn't know what he brought to the table, what the Raiders were getting in return. So I immediately reached out to some people that cover the Eagles and said, hey, tell me what you know about this guy. And they said, Q, you're going to love him. Really good player. He just doesn't get enough reps, but he's always making plays. When he is on the field, he's making plays. So I went into it with a positive mind, just because, again, there's people I trust that cover every team. And if I could reach out to them and they can give me the honest truth, I feel, okay, there you go. That's who the Raiders just received. And we know that the defensive line is important. We know Patrick Graham, his defense runs through the pressure that they can get onto the quarterback and what that defensive line is going to be able to do. But immediately people started saying, Booker keeps showing up on film. Booker keeps having good practices. Booker keeps stacking this, that, and the other. And he comes from an organization that just won the Super Bowl, and they're going to raise the banner tonight. So he knows exactly what it looks like and what it's supposed to look like. And, I even asked him about learning good traits from that Philadelphia Eagles squad, because that's not the first team that he's been with in the league. And he said, yeah, you learn a lot being in a room like that, and now I've got an opportunity. So I'm not really surprised. I think that the defensive tackle room has been a question once Christian Wilkins was gone. We knew what Adam Butler could bring to the table. But everyone else is guys that we all believe can do something. We just don't know exactly what it's going to be. And I feel like Booker has an opportunity to show who he really can be and has already a little bit of a sample size of what he can do.
And that is the sigh of relief for me, to be honest with you. This defensive line room, it was a concern, especially after Wilkins went down. It was a concern not having in that big of a hole. But I have the utmost confidence in Butler. I'm starting to develop the utmost confidence in Booker and in this just rotation, the possibility of the rotation with this defensive line. Seeing Tyree Wilson probably come into play some defensive tackle, little change up. You got to have that good rotation. So right now, I'm looking elsewhere to be concerned. It's no longer in the defensive line room. Right. I'm okay with that. So I'm fine with the way it is.
I think we might be going there next. I think we might be going there next.
You know me well. You know me well. You know me well.
Right. So that is really interesting. And I think it's nice for a guy like Thomas Booker too, that he wasn't getting a lot of burn in Philly. He comes to Vegas and he's going to have an opportunity to really shine. You mentioned a guy like Tyree Wilson, and they'll be able to use him on the inside as well, right? Because during preseason, he was playing on the outside and the inside. Now, my question to you guys is, I think one of the most exciting things, and I think there's concern here as well, though, Caillou Blue Kelly, he is at the top of the depth chart when it comes to, cornerback. They got Darnay Holmes, Caillou Blue Kelly, Eric Stokes, and you guys have been talking about him a lot, saying that he needs to be the Eric Stokes when he was playing elite football. Right. He needs to be very consistent. But this is a guy that is ahead of Darian Porter at Caillou Blue Kelly. And that's something that we didn't really expect. Obviously, Darian Porter, a young guy, a rookie, he's going to need to get experience. How is this a benefit for a guy like Darian Porter to be behind a guy like Caillou Blue Kelly, who just really impressed during preseason?
Yeah, I mean, he's good to go, according to Pete Carroll. Darian Porter's good to go. Caillou Blue Kelly is listed ahead of him, not because of what Darian Porter didn't do, but what Caillou Blue Kelly has done. The fact that he was able to stack 10, 11, 12 practices in a row that were really good. And Darian's still learning the position. I look at that secondary and there's, 5 dudes, right? You just went through the whole list and it's very thin. So, there's a lot of concern. I asked Coach Carroll, so if, because Caillou's dealing with the hamstring issue as well. So he said he's got to make sure that he's okay. I said, all right, if he's not and Darian's got to go, how confident are you that he can go? Oh, he can go. He's good to go. He's ready to go. Again, it's not anything that he's done wrong. It's Caillou's been better. So, okay. So we'll see, right? I mean, again, I trust coaches coach, players play. I listen and I observe, right? And I pay attention and try to, assess the situation to the best of my abilities. But it's a very thin room. It's a lot of untested and unproven in that room, which is more important. So we'll see what it looks like. That defensive line, I think, on Sunday is really going to have to get their work in and do a hell of a job because, again, that secondary, I think, concerns everybody watching this game.
Yeah, with Caillou Blue Kelly having a hamstring, there's a little bit of doubt that you have to reserve for the game, because what happens if he goes out there and he can't go full speed? So you're going to have to test the secondary. There are a lot of unproven names collectively in the secondary just throughout this team that we talked about. So it'll be interesting to see what they do Sunday. But the big thing is that if they can stop the run and force New England to be one-dimensional, how does that open up Obviously, goes advantage for their defensive line against the New England offensive line. But you can't put the carriage in front of the horse. You've got to find a way to stop the run. And those corners are going to be exposed really early with the type of scheme New England does to have to put them on one-on-one on the perimeter to try to make tackles.
You know, the funny thing about this, I was looking at a breakdown the other day of the Raiders and where they're allocating all their money on the defensive side of things. And I want to say $54 million is spent in the defensive ends, between Max Crosby, obviously, and Malcolm Kuntz. And there's only $9 million. It's the lowest position. It's the lowest amount spent on the defense, $9 million in the secondary. Now, a lot will say, whoa, hold on, that's very little. And it is. But if you go back and look at the history of Pete Carroll and Vinny Bonsignore, I got to shout him out. He did a really good article about this in the Las Vegas Review-Journal, VegasNation.com. He did a really good article on this. Pete Carroll has always done that. His secondaries have always been lower draft picks. They've been cheaper players. They've never really invested a lot. Even when they went and got not Quinyon Mitchell, he's in Philly, but one of their DBs that they drafted very early in Seattle. That was like the first time they had a first round pick as a defensive back. Even Earl Thomas was a first round pick at the safety, but remember, like, Richard Sherman was a 5th round pick. So they don't really invest, and he hasn't traditionally invested a lot of money into that position, and they haven't again this year. We'll see if it still works, right? We have to trust Pete Carroll because he's proven to have been able to get it right. But I'm interested to see if that's going to come back to bite him in the long run.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting as well because they always say, like, if you have a really good pass rush, then that will kind of make up for the secondary. But at the same time, when there's holes, like, that quarterbacks are going to take chances at that secondary. And so that's the only concern. I mean, for week 1, though, like you guys mentioned, you guys really believe that they're going to really run the ball and try to take care of the ball. And all that seems to be true. I also think week 1 is a weird week. I never bet on week 1. It's the one week where I don't put any money on. No, because, like, let's be serious, guys. It's always a weird week. Like, you learn a little bit about your team, but you can look really good week 1 and look at, like, absolute trash week 2. And right. So I don't know, what is that link? Why is it like that?
There's no rhyme or reason why it is. I mean, just stuff happens. It's clear as day. Q and I have used it as an example last year. You go to Baltimore, you beat Baltimore in Baltimore, then you turn around and lose to Carolina at home. How much sense does that make? Sometimes the team's inconsistency where they'll play down to their opponent or they'll play up to their opponent. It's not something that you can really look forward or take advantage of, because that's why you got to play the game. Any given day, anybody could be beaten by anybody else.
Yep. Facts. And week 1, you're right, is a weird week because you just don't know. Like, we've been spending all summer talking about what these players are going to do and how good this team could be and what this unit's going to look like. And, but until they actually get out there and, I don't know, play a full game, like, we don't know. Like, Ashton Jeanty has 10 carries so far in his NFL career through 3 preseason games. Like 10 carries, he'll probably get 18 to 20 carries on Sunday. You know what I mean? So we just don't know. I don't know what Ashton Jeanty in the fourth quarter looks like on the field. Never seen him. Right? So,
True
I mean,
story,
it's like,
right?
we just don't know. We'll learn a lot about this team based off when Ashton Jeanty gets the most of his carries on Sunday. Let's put it like that. We'll know how this game is going. If he gets the majority of his carries early in the game, that's them trying to establish the run, and that's trying to put their identity out there. But if he's getting some carries in the fourth quarter, late in the third quarter, early in the fourth quarter, that means the Raiders are winning, or it's really close and they're still able to establish the way that they want to play ball, as opposed to having to throw the ball around the yard and trying to play catch up.
Pay particularly close attention to the amount of yards that the Raider running backs get positive. That'll tell you how this run game is going to go. If you see a lot of tackle for loss or no gain, then you start to worry, okay? Because you're not getting the push that you want. Normally, the push that starts in the first quarter, first half, is anywhere from, given a little bit of a cushion, 3 yards, 2-3 yards. That's what you're looking at, because you expect those 2-3 yard gains to be 5-6 yards in the second half. That's what you're working your way up towards by leaning on and pressing on guys. And there are a lot of offensive linemen like myself that wanted that. I needed that work. Let's get that lather in early and let's go with it. And sometimes there might be times where you just go out there and you run it 3 times in a row. You don't throw a pass. Your fans might not like it, especially if you don't get a first down, but it sends a message not only to the other team, but it sends a message to you as the offensive line. We're putting it on your backs. Lead us. You want to get first downs? You want to keep this drive going? Let's lead us. Let's make it happen. Those are things that you look for, telltale signs when you watch the game.
I'm just looking to watch some football. Finally, the regular season is here. We get to see it tonight. We've been waiting all so long for this, right? And as for Raider Nation, we got to wait a little bit longer till Sunday, but in the meantime, we'll have a lot of football until then. Coming up in the next segment, guys, we are going to be talking about Jakobi Meyers, his mindset. We're going to be talking about the Raiders adding a quarterback to their practice squad. We're going to get into the quarterback room as well, even though some of Raider Nation just wants us to stop talking about it because we got Gino, but we got to talk about it, right? Because this is the Raider Squad Show. We'll be right back. Remember, you're listening to or watching the Raider Squad Show on the Locked On Network. We have an important request. Locked On wants to hear from you. We put together a survey to learn more about our listeners and make your favorite podcast even better. This is your chance to tell us what you like, what you don't, and answer questions about our advertising. Go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey to get started. Everyone who completes a survey will be entered for a chance to win one of 10 $100 Amazon gift cards. Again, that's lockedonpodcast.com/survey. You can also find the link in the show notes. And of course, as always, thanks for helping us out. Mazda crafts cars for those who choose to do more than simply move. They follow what moves them every time they drive. And that's what makes Mazda stand out. They go beyond safety, style, performance to deliver a driving experience that feels alive in every detail. And one thing that's really cool is Mazda offers more than safety. It's won more than the 2025 IIHS Top Safety Pick Awards than anyone else. So it's extremely safe. And at the same time, whether it's a quick drive to practice or a weekend road trip, Mazda makes even everyday drive feel special. Honestly, like I know a lot of people with Mazdas and they're reliable. Let's be serious here. It's small details that make big plays. And just like that, there's more to every player. There's more to every Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. Welcome back, Raider Nation. Remember, if you like the content, hit that like and subscribe button. You can also follow us on our social media channels. It's in the description below. You can find us on the audio side as well. If you got a couple of minutes, leave a rate and review. And guys, we got to talk a little bit about, the outside noise, because I don't think this is going to be too much of a distraction because of how Jakobi Meyers has really handled this moving forward, right? He's someone that asked for a trade. He went to Spy Tech, was like, I want to trade. And they were like, okay, thanks for saying that. And then some teams also inquired about him and they were like, no, like they don't actually want to move Jakobi Meyers is what I'm understanding. And at the same time, he spoke to media and they asked him about it. And Jakobi Meyers said, quote, that's where that stopped. I mean, I'm just going to keep doing my job until something shakes out either way. Honestly, I don't know which way it's going to go, but I'll be ready for whatever. It's a job. At the end of the day, I'm happy to be doing my job with my boys, but I can be happy anywhere, end quote. Q, what are your thoughts on that, on Jakobi Meyers and how he's handled it? He's pretty much saying, listen, they're not going to trade me, so I'm just going to play football.
Yeah, I think he's handled it like a pro, right? I really have. And I was in the locker room when he talked yesterday, and I wasn't sure if he was going to speak on it or if he was going to say, hey, that's a contract situation. I'll let that be handled with the guys upstairs and my agent. But, he was asked, there was reports that you asked for a trade. What happened? He said, I asked for a trade. They said no. So that was that, right? And he kind of laughed it off, and he said, look, man, he's like, I'm out here. I want to play. I want to play with my boys. That's the reason why he's there. That's why he didn't hold out. He didn't hold in. He didn't do any of that other stuff that we've seen other players do because he has loyalty to those guys in the locker room, which I think says a lot about him and says a lot about the way that they're one cohesive unit, the way that they're feeling about each other in that locker room. He said he's excited about the coaches. He's excited to play, but he does want to take care of his family, right? And Lincoln always says you don't talk about a man in his pockets or whatever. You don't worry about their money. You let them handle that. But I just think that he's gone about things the right way, right? And like he said, if he's going to keep on. It was funny, we all laughed at the end because he said, well, once the season starts, is that the end of that, right? Is it the off season for business and the regular season for play? And he said no. He said, I mean, I'm still competing. I'm like Pete Carroll says, compete. I'm competing for my family. I'm competing to put to get compensated the way that I should, But I'm going to go out there and I'm going to get everything I can for this team because he's there for his boys. I think he's done everything the right way. We'll see if something shakes out. Like he said, he wasn't confident. Something will. But at the end of the day, I mean, he's got a contract for another year. And if nothing happens this year, then they'll go into the offseason and they'll have to figure something out there.
I like it when young men approach it professionally because you can do one or two things. You can sulk and go to the media, go to the press, and they're treating me unfair, and I just want to sit down by my locker and hold on to my cleats and take my ball and go home. You could be that salty about it, or you could just go out there and take care of business like he was referring to. And the thing is that, Jakobi's in a very interesting position, in my opinion, because he can very well go out there and ball out this season. And then there's no doubt that he's the number one receiver if he goes out there and balls out the way he's capable of, especially with this offense, the way I sort of see it happening. So there's going to be opportunities for him to really make a name for himself. But I think he's doing it the right way. He's not bitching and moaning in the press. He's not complaining to his teammates. He's just going to go out there and handle his business. So I respect that. And I hope he gets everything that's entitled to him. The most awkward thing is that, back in my day, there used to be a time where you could look at Bruce Allen and Al Davis and be like, are we going to take care of me this year? Yeah, we're going to take care of you. You can have that, you have that gentleman's handshake that, yeah, we got you. I don't think that's there yet. And I think that's what Jakobi's looking for. He's looking for that sort of security. It's no longer present these days. He just got to go out there and take care of business. I think he's in a good position.
The other thing about this situation is, and I know you read the quotes, but you really have to hear the tone of his voice as well, because he's literally laughing and he's making, kind of jokes of it at the same time, where he's not salty. He's not bitter. And, I know, and I've seen in the chat, people say, well, he said it's a job. It is a job. And it is a business. Like, we have to remember that it is a business. And as he said, he's blessed to be an NFL wide receiver. Remember, this guy wasn't a wide receiver coming out of college. This guy was a quarterback. He tried. Tommy Millott just tried to do what Jakobi Meyers has done. And Jakobi Meyers has succeeded in doing what Tommy Millott is trying to do. Go from being a quarterback to a wide receiver. And he's done it at a high level to the point where he did not put a ball on the ground, even though Gardner Minshew, Aiden O'Connell, and Desmond Ridder were all throwing him passes last year. Didn't put a ball on the ground. He was the most reliable guy that the Raiders had, obviously with Brock Bowers as well. But wide receiver, he was the most reliable wide receiver that they had. And so he feels like he needs to get paid. He went, tried to get that contract extension. It didn't happen. The next step in negotiations is, all right, well, I'd like to get a trade. I'm sure his agent told him to do that. He did. The Raiders said no. And Jakobi, instead of like Lincoln said, he wasn't complaining about it, wasn't crying about it, didn't come running to the media and was like, this isn't fair, this and that, or holding out or being just demonstrative on the sideline like a Micah Parsons. He said, oh, yeah. Okay. All right, well, I tried. I'm here. That was the end of it. They want me to go play. I'm going to go play. My boys are here. I'm going to go. I think he's done everything the right way. I don't know if it's going to pay off for him in the long run, right? I don't, and I don't think he does either, but he's going to be there for his teammates, and I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah, I want to put this on the screen because I think this is important. Ty Bones Davis says, Jakobi showed out last year with 3 I'm not going to say that, bad quarterbacks, a horrible coaching staff, and Brock Bowers. Pay him in caps. And I agree. I mean, I agree with him, right? Like he had a rotating quarterback room and he was very consistent. And I think Link said it, like he has a chance to really prove it this year. And if he does prove it on the field, I think Pete Carroll and them are going to reward him because that's what they usually do. Yeah. They usually reward their guys. And you mentioned Micah Parsons. I don't know a player that's been more dramatic than Micah Parsons to get out. Like I hate to say, like I love him on the field, right? But that was a lot of dramatics, like just laying on the benches, like not being. He didn't want to be there, and it's terrible. Like if I was a Dallas Cowboys fan, and thank God I'm not, I would be like, man, get this guy out of here. Like even as a fan, I'd be like, I don't want some guy acting like this. And so the fact that Jakobi Meyers is taking the high road and he's there with his guys, he wants to be there. I think that looks great, and I think that's good for a locker room, right? Yeah. Because if there's some guy making a lot of noise, like what do you think that does to the locker room? That's gonna just like tear stuff up, right?
Well, it made it all about him. Yeah. I mean, look, the Cowboys played tonight, and nobody has talked about the Cowboys on the field. Right. Yeah. I mean, I do national radio every single night and we previewed the game and all we did is talk about what's life like without Micah Parsons. Like it's all about him. It's not about their new head coach. It's not about, what kind of offensive scheme they're running, what the defense looks like. It's all about Micah. Jakobi could have done that. Or even let's take it, make it even closer to home. Like Devontae Adams. There was a point in the training camp last year. Lincoln, you were there in Costa Mesa. You could see the body language of Devontae and it told you, I don't want to be here. Right. And then he went off and was with, his wife when she gave birth. And that's fine. We all respect that. But even Antonio Pierce was like, guy's been gone 10 or 12 days. Right. I mean, you know what I mean? It's like,
that's what AP told me. He was like, how long does it take to deliver a baby? He's been gone a whole week.
And again, I don't want to make that sound disrespectful, but it was the reality of it is. Right. I mean, it was just, and it's funny because during the season, Alexander Madison in the very first game of the year, I believe, scored a touchdown for the Raiders. And the night before, his wife gave birth. And I remember AP came into the press room on that Monday and was like, yeah, Madison did a really good job. Guess what? His wife gave birth last night. So it is possible to be able to, have a baby born and come back to your team pretty quickly. And that was a direct shot at Devontae because he had been gone like 2 weeks, right? His body language, Lincoln saw it. He was walking with his head down, his shoulders down. Jakobi's not making it about himself. Jakobi wants to get paid, as every player in the league does, as every person wants at their job. We all want to get paid. I want to get paid more. Lincoln wants to get paid more. Chantel, you want to get paid more. We all do, but you don't make it about yourself. You make it about the team, and that's all Jakobi's done.
It's always frustrating when you see a guy in a locker room that doesn't want to be there. It's always frustrating because everyone has their same amount of baggage that they have to go home with and come back with. Life happens, right? Whether it's parents, kids, wives, whatever it is, life happens. You can't keep everything out of the locker room, but you don't want to wear your emotions in the locker room around the teammates because it can become infectious. It can be toxic, cancerous. If you're not happy, well, why aren't you happy? Well, they're not giving me enough touches. Then, I've been around so many damn divas in my day. I remember hearing all of that. There's only one football. Well, I got to get my touches. I got an incentive in my contract. I got to get this. Hey, I'm not playing here. I don't want to be here. We saw it last year when Devontae quit on the team. And I had no more respect for him. When I saw that he didn't want to be there, my feeling was like, you don't want to be here? Get going. Yeah. You're not happy now? Okay, take off. You think you're better out there? That's fine. It's the same thing that you can say with other guys, but you don't want to have a distraction. The Raiders have been fortunate this offseason not to have distractions. You had the Colton Miller situation, you have the Jakobi Meyers situation, but they're not distractions where all the outside news channels are gravitating on. Jakobi, come on, man. They're not going to pay you. Do you want to quit? Don't have people filling his head like that. He's saying, I just want to take care of business. Colton Miller said, I want to take care of business. I do believe Jakobi Meyers will be taken care of one way or the other. I think it's a big year for him. He has a way of coming out. But the Raiders have a lot of prove-it contracts on this roster. So there are a lot of young guys that have to come out and ball out if they're going to be Raiders from here on out and future Raiders. So we're going to see a lot of things happen.
Remember where John Spytek comes from as well. This is something to keep in mind. Is he comes from Tampa Bay and the Jason Light tree, and they usually make guys wait before they give him an extension as well. So it's just kind of a little side note, a little asterisk to remember where his roots come from. It's Tampa Bay.
Yep.
Yeah. And it's funny because, everyone in the chat kind of had the same sentiments. Like Devontae Adams came up. I got to put this up because it's witty. Raider Nation Pawns. It says Devontae, but it's spelled diva, right? Good riddance. And I think a lot of Raider Nation felt that way. So some really good points there. But by the way, guys, coming up in the next segment, we talked about a lot of the guys this season that are on prove it deals. Well, I think a lot of people think that the Raiders do have a lot of players and as a team have to prove it because the power rankings came out. And some of it I thought was a little bit disrespectful. We're going to get into that in the next segment. So keep it locked here on the Locked On Network. You're listening or watching the Raiders Squad Show. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. This is awesome because I'm not going to lie, at other betting apps, you might just get $10. This is $300, you guys. This is great. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Welcome back, Raider Nation. Remember, if you like the content, hit that like and subscribe button. You can also follow us on our social media channels. And near the end of the show, Q and Link are going to answer some questions. So maybe drop a couple of questions. We'll pick the best ones. Guys, I know you guys don't like rankings. I've worked with you guys for a little bit over a month now, maybe 2 months now. I feel like it's gone by fast, but you guys are not a fan of the rankings, but we got to talk about this because, they're rankings. The power rankings are going to change every week. Now, NFL.com has them ranked 25. CBS Sports has them ranked 28th. And I think the Athletic is giving them a little bit of love because they have them ranked 18. Now, from all of those rankings, do you guys actually agree with CBS Sports having the Raiders ranked 28th? I know this is a team that won 4 games last year, but I feel like you have to look at, Link, you're shaking your head already. What are you thinking?
4 games. You do not have a sample size to stand on. You can't argue for crap. You won 4 games last year. Just start with that. Don't go. I've never been a big fan of preseason rankings, even when it happens in college. Look, you don't know how good you are until you play against someone. But if you're sitting here and you're going by law and you're looking at these rankings, dude, you haven't done anything. You're lucky you have. I would have put you at 32nd. I don't care.
Right.
You're the worst team in the league. I mean, hey, however you look at it, but no, it doesn't matter. Just go out there and play football. Let these things handle themselves.
Yeah, I mean, the reality of it is, you won 4 games, you picked 6 overall in the draft, right? I mean, you weren't a very good team. You have a new head coach, a new GM, right? You could consistently turning over the roster. So you just got to go out there and prove it, right? I mean, look, the rankings, I'm not a big fan of rankings. I'm not a big, numbers guy. Like when PFF, I like to reference it every once in a while just to kind of confirm what I already believe. I like to cross-check with them, but I don't live and die by the numbers, but it's a good reference point. Okay, this is where you're at right now. All right, but all you have to do is build off that. All you got to do is go out there and win. Just win, baby, right? That's the mantra. All you got to do is go out there and win games. And you know what you'll do? You'll climb with those rankings. Now, if you're a really good team and you go win 10 games this year, 11 games, and then they have you ranked 20th, okay, now you got something to complain about. Wait a minute, just won 10 games. All right, that's a conversation. But when you're winning 4 games and there's questions on, is the wide receiver room strong enough? Is the defense going to be strong enough? I mean, think of all the questions that we have. We have, as Raider Nation, as guys that cover the team on the regular, we have a lot of questions about this team. What do you think someone on the outside that doesn't really follow the team that closely and just is looking kind of over it, glancing over the team? Yeah, like if I'm somebody who really doesn't pay attention to the Raiders, and I look at that cornerback room and I say Darnay Holmes, Kaibu Blue Kelly, Eric Stokes, Darian Porter, DK Richardson, if I'm not really locked in, I'm thinking, who in the hell are these guys?
Yeah.
True story.
Right? I mean, we're blessed because we're the local media and we cover these guys. We know exactly, the ins and outs. We know what's going on. But you tell me someone at CBS Sports that's based in the East Coast is worried about a DK Richardson or an Eric Stokes or a Caillou Blue Kelly? They can't even say his name right. I mean, how many times do you hear someone, and I do national radio, so I know these things. Lincoln does it on the national scene too, so he knows these things. How many times does it drive me crazy when I hear someone start talking about the Raiders and they're like, that Jack Beck, he's going to be pretty good. I'm like, it's Besh. It's Besh. You know what I mean? Like it's frustrating, but who's locked in and who's not. So that's why I don't really take it that seriously. And that's why I think The Athletic gave them some love, because The Athletic they have beat writers that cover the teams locally. For the Raiders, it's Deshaun Reed. He does a fantastic job, right? Vic Tafur used to be there. Now he's in San Francisco covering the 49ers. But that's why I think that you'll see the rankings higher with an outlet like The Athletic, because he's there every day. So he can give you a real assessment. He's not one dude sitting there trying to cover all 32. It's just not. It's not going to be what you're going to want to see.
Guys, in the 3rd year, we're on our 3rd head coach.
Yeah.
Call it what you mean. You don't have a leg to stand on.
Right.
Like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if the Raiders weren't included in that preseason ranking. No, haven't done anything.
Right.
Haven't done anything. Are they a team? No, I'm being funny, but
That's
I'm being
reality.
for real. I mean, you haven't done anything to generate any type of hype, and you're last in your division. You're looking up at the Kansas City Chiefs. So everyone's going to poo-poo on you.
Yeah.
You got to go out there and show it.
Yeah, you're definitely right. But you know what? I feel like The Athletic, and like you mentioned, Deshaun Reed does a great job. He's definitely someone to definitely follow on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it at this point. But there are guys that actually cover the team, and then when you take a look at some national broadcasts, like they just don't cover the Raiders how I think they should be covered. Oh. And we don't even get a lot of coverage actually nationally. But in terms of power rankings, that's something that's going to change every week. Even after week 1, week 2, and I think someone said it here in the comments. They're like, the Raiders could go 6-0 and drop down 2 spots. The Raiders never get a lot of love. I'll say that much. But I'll say this: when the Raiders are good, everyone jumps on that bandwagon. I'll be seeing people that are Raider fans. Yeah, it is. It is.
It's good for the league. It's good for the league. It's good for sports. Certain organizations, when they do well, sports thrives. You'll always have the conversation when you come up basketball season. Q knows this. You're going to talk about the Lakers. You're going to talk about the Celtics. You're going to talk about the big names. Same thing with football season. You're going to talk about the Cowboys. You're going to talk about the Raiders. You're going to talk about these teams. There's certain conglomerates who do, when they do better, sports does better. And if the Raiders get back to a winning way, then they can be relevant again. That's why people either hate us or they love us. There's no in between. The Raiders are okay. No, you either hate us or I love us. That's the way it's always been. The same thing can be said about a number of teams. The Yankees, for example, in baseball. So, I mean, it goes down the line.
And I will say this, that the Raiders have been being talked about a lot more on the national side of things. I know ESPN talks about the Raiders all the time. I know Chris Canty is a big fan of what the Raiders are doing, but I think everyone always goes back to the same point at the end of the day. Like, they're headed in the right direction. They've got the right head coach in place. The GM looks strong. Tom Brady and the leadership now in the organization, everyone feels good about. Reality is they play in the AFC West. 3 out of 4 teams made it to the playoffs, so it's a tough hill to climb. It's hard. If you're playing in the AFC South or the NFC South, that's a much easier way to go from worst to first, right? I mean, because that division, those divisions are all jumbled up in the air. But in the AFC West, it's so difficult. You're trying to knock off Kansas City, who's owned it for the longest. Denver looks like they're going to have a strong defense. They were in the playoffs. And the Chargers, right? I mean, do they take a step back, or or do they continue to grow? We don't know. So that's why it's so difficult for the Raiders to all of a sudden go from a 4-win team to like a 12-win team. It's not impossible. They just got to go put the work in and show it. So I think that a lot of people are recognizing what the Raiders are doing, but they're taking the wait and see approach just because, well, we as Raider Nation, we've been down this road before. Like, this is it. Going to be it this year. And then all of a sudden it's not. So that's kind of what I take away from it.
All right, guys, we actually had some questions for you guys in the last episode, and I wanted to get to it. This one from at Lifelong Raider Fan. He said, do you either of you guys know why Terrell Edmonds is on the practice squad? Is he over the hill or learning the playbook, working into game shape? What's going on? Because there was a lot of noise about him looking really good, and I thought the Raiders liked him. That's from Lifelong Raider Fan. What do you guys know about the Terrell Edmonds situation, Q?
Yeah, no, they do like him a lot, and he's going to play, and he's going to play a lot. The thing is that they're able to elevate someone from the practice squad every week if they want to. And he's a guy that you watch. Come Saturday night, I'm telling you right, I'm calling my shot. Come Saturday night, you'll see a notification from Raiders PR, or if you follow me on Twitter at your boy Q254, L Kennedy 72. If you're following Big Lincoln, you'll probably see us tweet out, Terrell Edmonds has been elevated to the regular roster for tomorrow's game. He's going to play. They like Terrell Edmonds a lot, so you don't have to worry about that. He's late to the team, but Pete Carroll is a fan of what Terrell Edmonds is doing.
By putting him on the practice squad, you're able to hide him to a certain extent. There are a lot of people that are caring about him or concerned about his play. And of course, the thing is, with such a young secondary, like you said, you're going to see some playing time. But they really got to try to find a way to hide and finagle with the active roster and everything else. Some of these guys in the defensive back end, the secondary. So we're going to see a lot of that throughout the year.
Yep.
All right. And this one coming from Trippy2. Any reason why the Raiders didn't sign Peppers? Q, do you know anything about that, or Link?
No, it's funny because we talked about that. Remember on the last show, and I said there's conversations. I know a lot of people are talking about Peppers, but like I feel like that they have multiple Peppers on the team now, right? Yeah. I mean, Jamal Adams is going to play a similar role to him. I mean, and I've heard the conversation. If you add Peppers, he's a guy that can help Jeremy Chin play the big nickel role more, and he could slide up into that position, and Peppers could hold it down the back end. I just think that he's another chess piece, but it feels like now the Raiders have multiple chess pieces. You know, when you look at a guy like Jamal Adams, when you look at other guys like, Terrell Edmonds is a chess piece that we just talked about, right? I mean, Devin White, he's a chess piece. I feel like there's multiple chess pieces. You do have to get guys that have defined roles as well. Right. It's one thing to have different rovers and guys that you feel like can play multiple positions. Jeremy Chin, I look at him as a guy that can play multiple positions, but you've got to have guys that also have a really good defined role. I just don't think that you need Peppers at this stage of the game.
Here's the thing, guys. I'm a single father with 2 growing boys. So when I go shopping, what I do, I have to go in my cabinet to make sure what I need. Well, I'm looking at for what I need. What are we out of? What we don't have? You don't need a Jabril Peppers right now. You don't need him. You have so much that's unproven in your cupboard, in your space, that you have to let him go out and play. And you don't have to reach just because you have the money to reach, because there are names floating out there. And I'm proud the Raiders haven't done that. Don't just go bringing in people. Oh, well, this guy's available. Oh, you heard he was a first-round draft choice, or he had high. No. Just see what you have in your cupboard before you go shopping. That's all.
Lincoln, what you're saying is that just because you have the money in your pocket to go get a burrito late night, you don't have to go do that.
Don't have to go to Chipotle. Okay, you don't have to let that money burn a hole in your pocket. Do something else with it.
Lincoln's son might have done that. We're just
he did a couple of times. Matter of fact, he probably heard Chipotle from school, and now he says, "I want Chipotle."
Hey, it's the healthier option. I'll say that much, right? It's the healthier option, right? This one coming from Gotham City Raider is Amari Cooper out of shape? Have you guys heard anything about that, or is that just speculation?
He's not in football shape. I mean, he didn't do anything all summer long. I mean, he's training, but, Lincoln will tell you, there's shape and then there's football shape. He's working on getting in football shape.
PX90 shape does not get you in football shape. Cross training, does not get you ready for football.
Oh, good to know. PX90 is tough, though. That's I'm just saying it's tough. Okay.
I love how Chantel has a response for everything.
For everything. Chipotle's a healthier option.
She's a co-signer for everything.
That's what I do. You guys are the brains of the operation. I just gonna add in some taglines. But by the way, you guys will be back on Sunday doing a pregame, postgame. That will be on Raider Nation Radio. So Raider Nation, if you want to get prepared for the game, Lincoln Q got you covered. Make sure to lock in with them. Also, remember, if you like the content, hit that like and subscribe button. We'll be back on Monday, and I know Q and Link have you guys would have already broken down everything, but it's going to be extra because it's going to be here on the Squad Show. So we're going to talk about the game a little bit more. So make sure to join us. It'll be Monday, 7:30 a.m. Pacific time, 10:30 a.m. Eastern time if you're there on the East Coast. We'll be back on Monday, guys. Thank you so much for rocking with us. And remember to hit that like and subscribe button. We'll be back, Raider Nation.